story of 10,000 hours. Welcome to my journey to Tarawera, week 3 of my training. Now this week I'm going through a little bit of my history before this year. So you've found out that I have done some fairly big mileage this year, but before then, what is my sporting history? Because that is quite important when you're thinking about, well, what can you handle in the way of training, what do you need to improve?
Go, Paulie!
What I've done in the past is I did triathlon for a number of years. I did racing interstate at national level as a junior, and then in my 20s I was winning my age group in the national series events. So I ended up qualifying for professional license and racing some of the ITU races against guys like you can see in this clip. I've been comfortably keeping up with the lead swim group in local races, but when it came to the professional level, I did a few races where I realised that they do start very fast. You know, sub 30 seconds for the first 50 metres is required to keep up with the lead pack, and I worked on that and managed to keep up for longer as the more races I did, but I never really got up to the level that these professional guys were doing. But I did have some racing against guys like you've got here, Bevan Doherty and Hamish Carter. I was racing them 6 months before they took out the New Zealand Quinella at the Athens Olympics. About 10,000 hours worth of triathlon training before I had my kids. Took some time off from doing any exercise. I found a $1 book at a second-hand store and had a bit of a read of it, Rob De Castella's marathon book, and I thought, yeah, this is something that maybe I can do. Maybe I can find the time to train for marathons and still enjoy the sport at the level that I used to compete at. So that's what I started at, with road marathons for a number of years. So that's my lead into doing trails. Anyway, on to this week's training.
You would have seen, for those of you who are following Strava, that I've had a couple of days off. I started the week with an easy run on Monday, and then on Tuesday I ended up feeling quite nauseous at lunchtime, and that lasted for overnight and through the next day. So no running for 2 days. Not sure what it was. Might have been a virus. I do get easily motion sickness, so it could have been just, you know, walking around looking at my phone or something, but I think it was a virus. Anyway, what I will share with you is last week's long run footage. I'm doing a long run on Thursday now, but last week's was completely different. So the first big difference between last week's long run and this week's is started off with a lot of elevation. I ended up doing probably 1,300 meters elevation by 23k or something in last week's run. It was very windy, and today a lot flatter. The rain is gone and it's quite a warm day, so I'm struggling today actually, because I'm being too sick to do anything for a day or so. Coming back, first run back, feels like I've lost a lot of fitness, but I think it's just blood needs to get flowing. Yeah, so that's a couple of differences. It was very windy, very wet. It rained pretty much the whole run. while there is some side-to-side technical running in today's run, it was nowhere near as difficult as the running through the rocky creeks. Extremely rocky. There's also bits of trees that had fallen over, and it was really slow going because not many people go through there. There's no defined path, so you're just sort of picking away over rocks. Okay, so it's been a interesting morning. It's been raining most of the time, but now it's stopped for a bit. I got a little bit lost, but then saw there was a sign to go Hyson Trail back to Warren Gorge, so I started following that, but it didn't actually go the way that I expected. So I'm on the main Hyson Trail. So I've decided to change the today's run. I was going to do a run that was a loop that started and finished at Warren Gorge, but I've decided to change it to following the Hyson Trail back to Quorn. Although the run started with a lot of hills and then went to a rocky creek for about an hour, it flattened out to a long run along the plain and ended up being a little bit further than I expected, but I could see the distinctive peak of Dutchman's Stern and knew that once I got to that it'd be less than 10k to go. Getting there now, we've got out of that really strong wind and it's going to be a bit easier going with protection of the hills, but unfortunately it is going back to a rocky creek section, so it's going to be slow going. It is quite enjoyable, even though it's pretty tough conditions. It is quite enjoyable. Great. So that's nice. He's been cutting all the high grass from the side of the track, so I don't have to run through head high grass along the gorge here. Anyway, this long run in the warm weather is pretty tough. I've yeah, really struggling. Had some stopping, putting hands on knees moments a bit after 2 hours in, but got through the run, so that was it was good that I got out there and did it. Felt good for having got some more K's in the legs, but yeah, really tired by the end of it. So today I'm in the gorge again, running with Nat. We're doing a much shorter loop today. Now, as part of doing the Sturt Gorge runners group, there's the Cascades, where to be a member of the group we're actually meant to have a dip in the Cascades before summer. Something that we didn't know about at the time we joined the Facebook group, but it's coming up to summer, so I think now is a good time to head to the Cascades.
Is it warm?
So apart from showing you some fantastic trail vision each week, I'm planning on progressing my training as I've mentioned previously. So this week's progression, instead of doing a park run, I'm running with Casey, Brooke and Andrew, and it's a long rep session, so actually it's a continuous fartlek that Casey is doing. So I'll be joining in. It's around the Botanic Gardens car park loop here, which is just over 1.8 kilometres per loop. And the session we're doing today is on for 1 kilometre and then float for the rest of the lap. So, and starting at the top of each loop as the on. My progression is doing as many loops as I can, so I'll probably do about 4 or 5. Now, there was some running jargon that I used just then. Hopefully most of you understood what I was talking about, but basically the session had been a fartlek, or a session where you're going faster and then slower. I put up here the Coros Evo Lab explanation of anaerobic threshold, so you can explain it better than I can, but basically going above and below anaerobic threshold for a bit over 3 minutes at a time, and that was the session. So Casey did 16 Ks of that, took her 57 minutes. The average pace was constant throughout the run, was 3:35, 3 minutes 21 pace for the on, and 3 minutes 49 pace for the recovery. Only Casey was able to do the whole session. I ended up doing 6, so that was quite good. I felt pretty comfortable to start, but then by the 5th one I got quite lactic, and so I stopped after 6. Brooke did 3 lots of 2, so she skipped the lap every 2 laps. And Andrew did 3 laps and then a skip 1, then he did the rest of it, so he did 3 and then 4.5. Casey's was 8.5. You're not finished? Oh, okay. That's it guys, finish it off. So after yesterday's easy run to the Cascades with Nat, I've done the long session this morning, and now I'm back to the gorge again just after lunch. So I've had a short recovery. I had a few hours to eat and rest, but it is my big day of the week. It's a struggle just from the start to run, so it's going to be a difficult run, but long run on tired legs is what I'm doing for this particular session. So with the difficult day yesterday, finishing off the week with an easy run through Belair, so nice to get out of the gorge. I've had 3 days in a row in the gorge, which I love, but today an easy run with my girlfriend Nat in Belair. Now you may have noticed that some of my runs I'm going for runs during the day, and that's because I'm self-employed. I've got my business, Financial Tuner, which I've been running since about 2003. So when I'm going up to places like Quorn, I book my client meetings for earlier in the week, and then work from home, well, a few hundred kilometres from home for the rest of the week.
So that run in Belair was the last run for the week. A bit of a low week because I had some illness for a couple of days. The long run's not particularly long over the weekend, but hopefully I can have some good training early next week, due to the fact that I should be able to recover from them, having not wiped myself out completely. I'll be looking to build up the long runs, only 2 hours for Saturday's long run, but it was still a very big day, and happy with how my speed work bounced back after being sick for a couple of days. Thanks very much for watching, and look forward to bringing you more of my journey to Tarawera next week.